afternoon. Welcome to the Women's Show on Civic Space TV with me, your host, Theresa Tumwesigye. Today, we are assessing women leaders' performance in 2023. We shall look at the gains and losses for women of Uganda. It is a popular belief that women's participation in politics and leadership leads to socio-economic transformation. We've had it said several times that women are the backbone of the economy and the backbone of society. In 1989, Uganda adopted a system of reserved seats for women in every district. So let's look at the percentages in a nutshell. Women occupy 46% of local government positions, 33.8% of parliamentary seats. Women make up 43% of cabinet and occupy 5 out of 9 seats on the Supreme Court bench. So today we shall see, what have these percentages helped women in Uganda? Have they worked for us? The women at the top, the women in urban areas, women in business, women in rural areas. Have these numbers translated to socio-economic development? I'm joined by a panel of brilliant ladies who I'll give an opportunity to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, viewers. My name is Sayuni Hellen, and I'm from the Democratic Party. I'm glad to be here today.
You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Naima Sebbi. I'm a feminist lawyer and I work with Actionaid International Uganda. I'm honored and humbled to be back on the show.
We're happy to have you here. I'll start with you, Council. Could you just give us a brief walkthrough of the legal and policy framework for women in leadership in Uganda?
Thank you very much for the question. So, our legal and policy framework for women in leadership in Uganda, to me, if I'm to speak from my own experience, yes, we have a policy that is there, but it's suffering the same issues that other policies and laws suffer in this country on implementation, on the holding people accountable, So having such a law and a policy where it's not being implemented is equated to not having any policies and, and laws in the first place. I agree with your percentages. I think if you look at Africa and East Africa in general, we have the biggest seats on leadership for women, in the region. But it's very shocking and absurd to not see the effect of that and not to see how they implement in their leadership roles in effect to the women, down there, the women in the villages. We're still suffering the same consequences, the same issues. Yes, we could have, moved a notch higher in regards to social, political, and economic development. But is this where we should have been in 2023? Having a country with the most women in the seat of parliament, that speaks volumes in regards to fronting the women agenda. If I'm having women who are 43% in parliament, I'm expecting laws to be scrutinized, for the laws to be gender sensitive, for the laws to be intentional on promoting gender equality and equity. But have we seen this being done? No, we're still seeing women, pull down the works that women have done over decades back. Yeah, for example, like someone saying marital rape is not rape. After all the work that women have done to ensure that a bill that is really comprehensive enough to capture all the lived realities of women, and then you come up as a woman leader and water that down. That is really, really disheartening to the woman down there who is living a life where she's experiencing marital rape on a daily basis. So yes, the policies are there. They're as beautiful as any other law that we have in this country, but when it comes to implementation, it is the men who are implementing it. And you know what the men will do with the patriarchal system? They will make sure that they do not implement what supports for women, because they want to see women, at the backbench and not at the front. So in as much as we have these percentages and these beautiful laws and policies, we're not seeing it take form. A very good example is in the private sector. How many women CEOs do we know in this country? How many chairpersons do we know who are women in this country that hold the power to make decisions? We do not have this because we don't have a system that holds the private sectors accountable to be able to implement these policies and laws. So yes, we might be having these policies very well written, very well researched. I see we've researched from Japan, Australia, all those countries that are putting forward the women's agenda. But are we in a position where we can implement it as a country? And are the men really who are the gatekeepers of these policies and laws? supporting the implementation of these policies. I think that's all I can say for now.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm glad you raised that issue because it's been a constant problem, a constant accusation or a statement. Uganda has beautiful laws, beautiful policies, but implementation, zero. Accountability, zero. We don't see them. They look good on paper. They look good when we go for these, conventions abroad and everything. It's all beautiful, but it does not reflect reality.
It doesn't. I agree.
Yes. So I'm going to ask you, she has mentioned a problem that our women leaders have of not pushing for the women's agenda. And it's been said previously that sometimes women who get to parliament on women's seats tend to get lost in the strategies and in the pushes of their political parties. They forget that they're there for the women and are absorbed into the political parties. They don't fight for women's rights. They don't question the policies that they are supposed to, and instead take the stand of the party or disappear in there. What do you have to say about that?
Well, we first have to thank God that we have that affirmative action, and at least that those women are there. We can question effectiveness later on, but first of all, we just have to appreciate the fact that they are there, because we've had times where we did not have the affirmative action, and in legislation we find we do not have enough numbers to represent us. So it is up to us. The problem could not be them. The problem is within the system that elects these women members of parliament who we put there and do not represent us. Because we cannot just look at all the female MPs and then judge them, because we still have MPs that are representing us. People like Cecilia Ogwal in Parliament, they are speaking things. We have people like Honorable Saro Pendi, they are on the floor of Parliament raising issues. So the question now should be about the quality of the women that we present in Parliament, not the fact that they are there. So for me, we should look at maybe the systems that are in place that get us electing some of these members of Parliament that do not perform for us. You look, we have issues like monetization of politics that gets some women who just have money come to Parliament with no passion to work for women. Those are the issues. We have women who will just go there because they are related to the system that enables them get elected. We have women that go there because of money. We have women who go there because they are in weaker societies, and they do not have anything at heart like representing women. Where? In Parliament. Those are the things that we should be questioning. Otherwise, we are just supposed to appreciate the fact that we still have those few positions where we can send there the women. Now we just have to look at the system, that we work on the system to have women who can represent us there very well. You look at the representation of women in cabinet. We have a prime minister, we have a speaker, we have a vice president, we have state ministers who are women. But what are they doing? Recently, there was a mission. They wanted to merge government entities. National Youth Council, Women Council were all going to be merged into one secretariat. Do you know what that means? And women in cabinet kept quiet. It is actually people out there who have been shouting about it. I never had any female in cabinet shouting about it, saying that is marginalization, because we're already a marginalized group. Personally, I am under youth, again women, then you again marginalize us and put us into one thing, and these are the things that we just achieved recently. So again, when you want to merge it all over and then say that you want to merge them, that would be another great problem. The women that we have in these positions, for example, we appreciate the numbers, but we have had issues where what they are doing is trying to even water down the efforts that, for example, the former female women that we had fought for. We had people like Miriam Matembe fighting for these positions, fighting so that we can get there. But now we've gotten there. We have issues. They are now stealing iron sheets. You see?
Well, that's a very nice, but I would like to interject.
Those are the things that we should be talking about in regard to women representation, so that we just help and shape them to be the kind that we want representing us there. But for the numbers, I think we are not really doing bad. I think we've done, the female activists have done enough, and we are now there. We just have to work on the effectiveness and the quality that we have on table.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to interject a little bit, because when she was speaking, I was hearing things like patriarchy, tokenism, submission. And I would agree that most positions that women hold in parliament is due to tokenism, because you're, loyal to this party, loyalism is also kicking in and they're being given this position. But like she said, there is no passion to work for issues to do with women.
Yes.
But then that brings my question, my mind is just boggling and I'm thinking, must you be passionate, or do you have to look at the lived realities of the constituent that you're representing and you speak up on it? Are we saying that we're having women with numbers, which we should appreciate, but they're saying nothing, like you said? They're saying nothing. They're mute. With the numbers that we have in parliament, if the women were as aggressive as when they wanted to beat the parliamentarian who, disrespected, a woman, if they were that active for all the issues that are tabled in parliament regarding women, we would say bravo to them.
Yes.
But see, they're raising up and being very loud and open-minded to discuss issues that are really, really trivial. They're trivializing issues and women agenda issues. So it is really disheartening, because to me, even having the numbers when no one is saying anything does not make sense. I'd rather have 10 women who stand their ground and shake the tables with expensive drinks, like shake that parliament so that they know the women are here. That to me would speak volume. But having a huge number of women who are not doing anything, for me personally, me as a woman, I may not be the person, down there, but even me as a woman in this city, struggling with issues of women in my corporate business and all that, how are they standing up to say, you know what, we are doing this for the women, 1 quarter at a time? Are they doing that? They are not. So to me, having those positions.
But Council, you see, I cannot say that we do not need these numbers, because we still have a very huge number of men in parliament and they're not representing us. So better we have them there.
Doing nothing.
It is better, because what about we had a parliament full of males, and how many male MPs do you know who speak on the floor of parliament? How many? They are also, it's a limited number.
But so, my issue with that you say is that in 1989, that's when Uganda adopted a system of reserved seats. 1989.
Yes.
It's 2023.
Thank you.
We're on the 11th parliament. Are we still at a point where we should be clapping that we have the numbers, or is it way past time to see the fruits of what the women's movement has fought for?
Now, you see, every journey starts with one step. Maybe you could be 20 steps away from getting where I want to be. But the fact is that we must appreciate the fact that we have the numbers. And then we go down and work on the effectiveness and the quality of the people that we put there. But as a matter of fact, those that introduced this system, we are first of all looking at the numbers. That's why they put in place affirmative action and said, for us, we want women there. They did not put any nitty-gritty down there of the quality of the people they want. And there is no system that is in place that is supposed to help us look at, for example, the quality of the MPs that we should present there. What is there is affirmative action. Every district must have a female representative. Equal Opportunities Commission is supposed to make sure in all commissions and government entities we have a female representation. But now we do not have anything written down or anything that says these are the qualities of the people that we should present. So we must at least first of all appreciate the fact that we have the numbers, because there are times that we've been there and we do not have the numbers. But also there are people that keep throwing stones at having numbers of women in parliament, but they never throw stones at having the big quantities of men in the parliament, and they are doing nothing. Do you know that we have male MPs who you never know, who you will even never get to know about?
But me as a woman, my concern is not the male MP. If he's not saying anything, that is his problem. My issue is having a woman who's going to speak to women issues. Okay, yes, I appreciate the numbers, but like you say, 1 step at a time. We're like 30 steps ahead, So at 30 steps, we should be showing something fruitful, something women can get up and upload for, and be like, yeah, that is now the woman we sent in parliament. In regards to the quality of women, I think that's an issue of the parliament, because they defiled the constitution in various ways. If our constitution was clear on the academic qualification of the people to be sent in parliament, that would have solved the issue. If it was a degree or a master's, those are people who would come and discuss issues and would research issues and know how to present issues. But you go and bring me a farmer, market vendor. I'm not saying they're not, because actually you find that those women are even speaking more than these other women. But the quality, the passion, do these women come back and account to the constituents they are representing? Trust me, I don't think I even ever seen my woman MP, ever. I don't even think I know how she looks like, other than the posters that I saw. So is this woman meeting women, going the further step and saying there's, let's say, a bill that is being presented before Parliament. What I need you people is for the women who don't understand this. We are going to explain, have a workshop. What does this mean to you? How do you want me to represent you as your representative in Parliament? What are your voices? Our women are not doing that. It's so ashamed that they only come back to us when they're trying to bribe us to vote them back in power.
Yes,
Are they
just
coming
like
back
any
to
other
us?
political leader anyway.
So
Yeah.
can they do better than the men? Me, I'm not just about the men. If they are keeping quiet, that is their problem. Let them keep quiet. But they're keeping quiet because they know there is nothing pertinent to discuss. All their interests are set. So you women, if you're not making noise, it's not affecting them in any other way. So for the men, let them keep quiet. But I need women to speak up.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so one thing that I've heard from you is that women are victims of the system within which they join.
Yes, sure.
But question is, I want to first say that women who fought to have these numbers, we're not just really looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
They look at the issues that are affecting women. That's why they're classified as marginalized groups. And so what do we do to make sure that these marginalized groups have their rights, represented, they have their issues talked about, tabled on a national platform, local government platform, every level. So what can we do to change the system? And I want to sort of bring back that question to you. The Democratic Party, does it support the women that go to Parliament or hold any other position under their flag? What support does the political party give to those women? Because I understand that belonging to a political party is going to mean that you have some say in Parliament or you don't. Or it's going to mean that you get a push from your fellow people, or your political party is going to stand with you and say, you know what this lady is saying, this is what we stand for as a party. Does the party support its women leaders?
Every political party has an ideology. Political parties support their people depending on the ideology that the party is built on. Every political party presents women. In the last election, for example, DP had female candidates. If not only on affirmative action seats, but also on the other seats. And that itself shows you that we are too supportive of of a female, of a woman. So we do not just place them there, but also give them mentorship. We mentor women. You see, Numbers was in DP. Do you doubt Numbers' capacity on legislation in Parliament? You do not. We have, apparently we only have one female MP, unfortunately, but the spaces that we give is that we take them through mentorship on how they should legislate, how they should relate in Parliament, and what Parliament is about. And we send them to Parliament. Of course, when they're in Parliament, they have the backup of the party, but they are representing people. Yes. You're representing the women of NRM, DP, NUPFDC in your constituency who voted you. You're not just there to represent only the DP. Of course, you have the backup of the ideology. So it goes back to the individual herself. And that's why he talked about having the passion to which you have been sent there to Parliament to do. Because by now, with the numbers that we have, we wouldn't still be having issues of high school dropouts because young girls cannot afford issues to do with the menstrual health. There should be a legislation about the young girls in schools, in hard-to-reach areas where schools are scarce. We should be having legislations around that, but we do not have because of the passion. It is not even about the political parties, trust me, because the party that has, of course, the largest numbers is NRM. And we cannot even blame it on NRM. We blame it on just the system. Of course, NRM we can blame because it is the one that carries the biggest percentage, it is the one that is running most of the government. It is the one that is running government generally. So we can blame it on the system that I was talking about. The systems of governance that we have are a problem. Yes.
Well, if I'm just saying, because you're speaking, I'm thinking, okay, I'm non-partisan. I do not have a party that I support. That's a disclaimer. So I'm going to hit on every party. I'm asking myself, do these individual parties have an affirmative action on women's agenda that is synchronized to the issues the women movement are about. And I'm saying, anyway, sometimes I think our political climate is really premature. I think we're still, like you said, yeah, I might agree, we're still far off. We need to come off from that paganism thinking and come into that aristocratic thinking where even when I am in the opposition, if NRM brings an agenda that is on women, it's not about them and us. It's about, is this agenda going to help
women, not
women
about a political
yes.
party.
But now what we see in parliament, like you said, NRM has the biggest issue. Even when, like, for example, an opposition party brings an agenda that is beneficial to women, without the concern of which party they, affiliated to, somehow they will say nay or whatever it is because of that them us, So I'm thinking, do political parties sit and say, as DP, this is our agenda on women issues. As NOPE, this is our agenda on women issues. As FDC, this is our agenda on women issues. And as NRM, this is the same. How do we synchronize these issues? And as women, irrespective of our political affiliation, we push for this. It's something we don't see in parliament. It is them against us in whichever issue that is being raised. Because when a woman blatantly stood up and said, rape, according to the biblical teachings, in marital homes is not considered rape. The fact that you're married, you've consented to sexual relations with your husband. Even if that person is affiliated to whichever party, I should be able to stand as a woman and tell her, even if she's in my party, I'm like, hey, hold on. I am going to rectify you on that statement. Yes. And I would like not to be associated with that statement and take her to a constructive debate on how women's lived realities are affecting them and what that statement could mean to a woman who is deep in Kanaka Piripit over Chiriandongo or deep Katunda Jasivi, get it deep down there, who does not know what this means. You get? So to me, it's how are we synchronizing our agenda? Even if we have different political ideologies, how do we synchronize the ideologies that speak to women issues, even if we're affiliated to the different parties? I think that's all I can say. To me, that's my thinking. How can we move forward?
Okay. So on that point, actually, I would like to say, we have the UOPA, Uganda Women's Parliamentary Association, which has previously collaborated despite, political leanings, party leanings. They have championed key legislation on inheritance, marriage, divorce, FGM, trafficking of persons, and maternity leave. Do we see that same collaboration, like you were saying? We don't see it now. Do you think there is any win, anything to register in 2023 at least?
I think 2023, to me, honestly, as a statement, you just do one wrong and it tarnishes all the good that you have done. So yes, UOPA has done a lot. We appreciate that and applaud them for that. But in 2023 per se, personally, other than the things to do with web, the things to do with parish model, things that were separated, and because they considered the women issues, they were strong and stood up and said, you know what, no, we're not, in consultation with the movement, the women's movement. So me, I'm saying this one bill, to me, it is a bill that it's not affecting me per se, but it's affecting someone in Nakapiripirit who is facing marital rape on a daily. So to me, you saying that actually demolishes the wins that you have done, because people are going to look after 30 years of tabling this act. It has been on the shelf for 30 plus years. And then in order to be passed, you come and say such a statement, like to wash down everything the women have worked for 3 decades. To me, that does not make sense. That tarnishes all the wins you have achieved as an organization. So in 2023, like I said, one rotten potato can spoil the rest. So that one issue could have tarnished, but I know they have done so many achievements. We appreciate them for that. We applaud them for that. But then we need to see more synchronization as WOPA, more working together, regardless of their party affiliation, and come up and stand on pertinent issues. Because issues of marital rape, issues of marriage for women, that is a very serious issue that needs someone to think 5 times, not even 2 times, 5 times before they pronounce themselves on certain issues. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Okay, I appreciate your passion about that, and I'm going to highlight for those who are not aware, on 1st December, Actionaid, in partnership with UNFPA and the judiciary, launched the National Section Gender-Based Violence Bench Book. Specifically, there's a provision whereby a lot of research has gone into this issue. Marital rape is real.
Yeah.
Research has been done. The judiciary has pronounced itself on it. So I think we also need to look at how Parliament operates in tandem with the judiciary, because this is also a lawmaking body. The
True.
judiciary makes laws as well. So I think we need to look at that, consultation, working together, and synergy in this department.
True, because like you've said, it wouldn't make sense for Parliament to pass a law that would be in contradiction to the precedents that are in the SGBV bench book.
Yes.
So are they speaking from a research point of view, or it's because of passionate and because that is your belief as a woman? So I think that statement was said without prior research on what women's lived realities are.
Yes, and that's what you pointed out.
Yeah.
That's what she pointed out about the passion, because if we have leaders that are passionate, they are going to do research. They are going to know what they are talking about. They're going to strive to be right. So now I want to ask on specific issues. It seems decided. I haven't seen a lot of gains that we are mentioning here. It seems to be mostly losses. So I'm going to first slide into a bit more of these losses, and then we can try to come up.
Okay.
So this is something that's on everybody's mind. It has never left my mind. It was a global scandal, the Iron Sheet scandal. We clap for ourselves because we have women in top leadership positions in Parliament. We have women in top leadership positions in cabinet. But the Iron Sheet scandal, I would be dishonest if I don't talk about it.
True.
What have been the implications for the constituents of the pinned leaders? And what are the implications of having certain women leaders implicated in this scandal? And what has it meant for the women's movement, the struggle so far, and the hopes that women had in them for 2023?
Well, the Iron Sheet scandal is one scandal that is sudden. It's saddening, and it's one that really shook the world, because if you are a premier, and the head of Parliament, and your name appears on something as scandalous as that, with having in the back of the mind what these iron sheets mean to the marginalized people of Karamoja, you heartlessly pick these iron sheets and, go and roof your goat's house. Yeah? To me, that interprets that my goats are far more important than the people living in Karamoja. And we have not seen them being held accountable the way it should be. To me, I'm seeing a lot of confusion. They're confusing us on what is being done. Yeah, we're doing this. This is what we're taking this one to court with. But we want the names. If I was in power, which is really, I would ask those people to resign immediately. 1. 2, as a woman, that was very disrespectful for women with the wins and gains they have fought for over the years. Very disrespectful. We have talked about corruption and its effects on women, how the lack of medicine affects a woman in the village, how a lack of, those civil services they're supposed to get affects and increases the maternal and, birth rates for children. And you blatantly decide to reallocate your goats, the luxury of iron sheets, knowing that Karamoja, being a vulnerable community where a woman has to toil, thatch her house, take care of her child, and ensure that she has a home, because that is her constitutional right, and for her children. But you snatch that away from them, and you comfortably come and inform us of how the things found you where you are seated, like making the nation look really stupid. So to me, I think that was a really gross conduct they did. It has really pulled the women achievements on leadership 100 steps back, because it's a thing. I wouldn't be shocked if a man did that, because their ego, men really do not care about what women are going through. It's about them, themselves, and them. So a woman doing that, knowing that there's a fellow woman going through something, and you're in a privileged position, there's a woman deep down there. So that non-attachment to lived reality is what I'm speaking to. Like, if you do not think through what the consequences of your action are going to be to this woman who is supposed to get this iron sheets, then you do whatever you seem pleases you, and You're okay with that, and you have the audacity of addressing the nation on how these things found you where you are. You did not ask for them. It doesn't make sense. That is not accountability for us, for your constituent, and for the people who are supposed to have benefited from these iron sheets. And it's not only the iron sheets. We've heard of the scandals of the tractors that were supposed to go and farm in Karamoja because to help them with farming. Is this coming out? No. Somehow it is playing around the corner in the corridors. People don't know about it, but it's also a scandal. This is people's, sustainability in Uganda is heavily dependent on farming.
Yes.
So you taking out one thing that would have supported a man or a woman to, farm and provide for their family, and you snatch that away from them. It's like you're sending them to death. And to me, that is really appalling. It's disgusting. And to me, I think they should have resigned. We don't need to see these faces representing our country anywhere. They should have resigned for the actions they did.
And I think that speaks to loss of public trust in the systems, in the leaders, and
Yes.
the hope for women. What do you have to say about this issue?
Well, the problem is that, of course, we are in a patriarchal society. So when it's a woman, it's loud enough already. You see, the problem with Uganda is that good news doesn't have legs, but bad news has the fastest legs.
True.
There are, of course, good things that these women have done. But by the fact that the bad news will run very fast, the iron sheet scandal has covered anything good that they would have done in this whole year. That is if we are to assess this year. Of course, it is very unfortunate that it is the big wigs that were involved, especially the Prime Minister. For God's sake, it's the first time you're having a female Prime Minister. Why would she have? We had the speaker in it, the State Minister of Karamoja, the minister. You see, people like this former journalist, the State Minister of Karamoja, Agnes Nandutu. We've never seen her on the floor of Parliament presenting anything related to issues of women or even the region that she was given charge of. But guess what? Iron sheets are being swindled and her name is out there. So what does that show you? It shows you that our people are not serious at all with the representation. At least if had she maybe been popular with issues of dealing with legislation or having, for example, you must have a docket that you know very well and you present. But now we have a state minister who never shows up in Parliament, never shows up in public, has never said anything, but is just out there in the scandals of iron sheets. It was really very scandalous and very unfortunate to the region which we term as marginalized, because Karamoja is one of the marginalized regions in this country, yet the richest actually. So it was very unfortunate that we had such people, and what hurts is that they're not even remorseful. They had just to continue business. We expected them to maybe release a report or statement and say, maybe we were tricked, maybe we did not intend it to, but all of them just continued business. What does that show you? It shows you that we are just living. You just have to thank God for the next day that you live in this country. Otherwise, you can wake up tomorrow and if there was a hospital that buys oxygen, you find they've removed the oxygen and sold it off.
And now that you go to hospitals, I just now dive into the next
issue. So those are the issues that we must be looking at. And that's why I told you about having a representation of people that have passion, looking into the quality of the people that we present in Parliament. I do not think people like, you see, we have outstanding women like Winnie, Honorable Winnie Kiza, the most outstanding leader of opposition for me, because she's apparently still outstanding, still very passionate about women things. But people like Miriam Matembe, very passionate about women. These are the people that should be out there representing us. But when you have people like Nandut, who is even a first timer in Parliament, not even 2 years in Parliament, you're already swindling iron sheets. We are clapping that we've gotten this number of women in big offices, 43%. But then you've just reached there, not even 2 years, and you're doing all that. Then what are we going to shout about that we want women representation again? That is watering down the efforts of the of the 4 women that came and fought for us to gain these spaces.
Yes.
Yes.
And we've seen a lot of backlash because everybody, or very many people are saying, oh, where did the good women leaders go? Now, this is what we are getting. You see, women, you wanted the leaders. This is what you now have. So we've suffered huge blows because of that problem. And we hope that there is hope. We can only hope, that there's something that can be done. So now I want to talk about specifically healthcare, and not in general, because we've talked about this so many times. It's been written about so many times. You mentioned maternal mortality rates. You talked about oxygen not being available in hospitals. If you go, for example, to Mulago, the women's specialized hospital, it is beautiful. It was a great achievement when it was launched. If you walk through most of those corridors, it's total silence. Zero staff. There's barely any staff. You look at a nurse's station and it's gathering dust. It's never been occupied by anybody. And I want to raise a question to you. Are we focusing on the right priorities? In particular, in September 2023, the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honorable Betty Amongi, announced plans to export 53% of unemployed Ugandan nurses to Germany and the UK. The reason behind this is that they want to address unemployment, they want to focus on wealth creation, and because those European countries have very old populations without caregivers. So they want to export 53% to those countries to care for them. However, the Equal Opportunities Commission report recommended that the Ministry of Health should recruit more health workers as well as specialists to address the challenges of staff workload and improve service delivery. So my question is, are we focusing on the right priorities? Are we looking at the women who need these services, or are we looking outside to provide what is good to outside people and not for Ugandan women? What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think Mulago is so near. Let me refer to a hospital deep down in West Nile, a region that has not been on the national grid for ages. What does that mean for women in the West Nile? If you're not a national grid, there's no electricity, you want surgery, there is nothing they can use at night to operate on you other than generators, which then become costly and which then are not supported by the government. And so the fact that we don't even have West Nile on the national grid is disheartening. I came from West Nile, but I get angry that people deep in my village do not have this access. In as much as I could have this access, they don't have the access. And the majority population, they are in West Nile because they're the people deep, in the villages. So if the simple things like medical service, only a national, being attached to national grid, how much does that take? How much electricity are we exporting and not catering to the needs domestically, So back to your question, in regards to exporting nurses and ignoring the healthcare service in this country. I cry for Montuawansi because you have, and other people could be having insurance, like we will get the best quality of medicine. But how many people are employed and have the opportunity to access good quality medical health with doctors on you round the clock, because you're paying? One, I know the government is focusing on the commission they get for exporting the labor, because for them that is what their interest is. What are we gaining out of this? And they're not considering what are people, losing when we do this. Yes, unemployment in the country has been caused by so many factors. And I'm thinking we should not look at the effects, but the root causes, of why are we getting unemployment in this country. There's some aspects like corruption. People to get jobs, you have to bribe someone that you know that to get a job. Like if you don't know anyone, you might not get a job, even with the best of qualifications. So people are not resigning at the age they're supposed to resign. Yes, they will resign, but still be re-employed because they know someone who knows someone who's someone that employs the people that will retain them as consultants. Yes. Two, it's said that in the 80s or 70s, Mulago was a referral hospital for the East African region. It was an exemplar, a model national referral hospital. But if you look at Kenyatta Hospital right now and the Tanzania National Hospital right now, We do not compare. Do you get? That is even too far. Look at our airport. It was a model airport in the 70s. Go to JKIA. We do not compare. We are just like a tunnel in JKIA. So what happened? Why did the priorities change? Are we even considering the people in this country? Or the people in this country are just people to gain from? Look at the taxes and how they have shot. We are sustaining people in this government, but we are not getting value for money for the taxes that we are paying. Yeah, there's a lot of corruption. Go to National Drugs Authority. We have the drugs there. But people are holding these drugs. People are selling these drugs in their clinics because they want to get money. Drugs that are supposed to be free, you know? So it goes back to the question of, does the government really consider the needs and the wants of its people than its needs? Or it is about what they can get out of exporting these people? And Maki, we don't have proper policies to moderate, manage, and follow up with the people that we export. Yes, going to Germany is okay. I'm just going to look at the labor exportation to, Middle East.
Yes.
How many cases have we received of people being abused? People going and reporting to the embassy, and nothing is being done.
And majority are women.
Thank you. Look at the Philippines. They have a mechanism that tracks the people they export. A reporting mechanism in case you're being abused. Like, they have the power. Don't you have people to mitigate, discuss the terms and conditions of exporting these people? Yes, they do have a different, system, the kafala system from ours. Can't you meet in the middle? Say, you know what? The kafala system to us looks like trafficking. Yes, yours might be this, but then let's meet in the middle so that everyone gains. Do we have that in place? Do we have policies that are monitoring these laws, beautiful laws that have been put in regards to labor exportation? We don't. So exporting the nurses, they might even come back distraught and disturbed, because so I hear whites are more racist than the Middle Eastern. So that means what for a woman? A lot of abuses, and she's going to be abused. So to me, let them first check. Like the Baganda says, before you see the kajonjo of someone else. Let's first work with the systems back home. Let's deal with corruption. Let's deal with minimum wages in the country. Let's have proper implementation mechanisms. Let people go because they want greener pastures, but not because that is the only option they have. Because if it's the only option you have, you will face all the abuses. Because even back home, there is nothing you're returning back to.
And in posing the same question to you, this issue of exporting these nurses who are much needed in Uganda, actually, what is your view on the opinion that it supports and, hips onto the brain drain we're already seeing in Uganda?
I first wanted to address the question of the government's priorities.
Yes.
I don't know whether our government has priorities nowadays, really. I think the only priority is to keep Museveni in power. Tova kumeini, tova katitwina jaja awoma, those things. I think it is now the priority, because every activity now you see Museveni on. It is a question of power. But otherwise, if we are talking of priorities, have you visited the roads in Kampala? And Kampala is the face of Uganda, because it is our capital city. Everyone that comes to Uganda, you must go to the airport, pass in Kampala, then go anywhere you want to go. Have you been following up on the security details? This year we had over 50 kids killed in Kasese. We had the people being shooting themselves in town. Tourists burnt in what are this government's priorities? We don't know. And now you're jumping on labor externalization, like modern slavery. That is modern human slavery. Like, we are just sanitizing the name, but just tell us that you're going to sell our people. We've been having issues of people who have been in the Middle East, some coming back with no kidneys, others with no eyes, others with the ramshackled bodies. Like and this is a question of health, by the way, question of health. And this government's job is just to protect the lives of the citizens. But how are you going to protect someone's life when we've been failing to just ferry our people and protect them when they're in the Middle East? Now you even want to push them further. You know, those are those are the issues. I think this government needs some strategic advisors. I don't know whether Museveni's advisors really advise him and his cabinet, or he's the one that advises them. Because these are the things that should be on their fingertips. You first deal with the policies that are supposed to help in protection of these people, even after you've taken them. Let's agree that we have to deal with unemployment, of course, which is very high, you know. But then we must have put some systems in place, first of all, to deal with the security of our people, to deal with the statistics. Because, for example, if you now went to the Ministry of Gender and asked them, for example, how many Ugandans do we have in the Middle East who went out to look for jobs?
I don't know.
Do they have those statistics? We must deal with the question of profiling properly, having serious organizations put in place so that in case even we have allowed our people to go, we can easily follow up on them, easily have them placed in good places, because they live here, but again, we are not even sure of the wages they're working for. There are those that go and come back and they are telling you it is all the same, they just come back with nothing. They've just wasted all their years there. Yes, we cannot say that taking them out to find maybe jobs or make them busy, because an idle mind, is a devil's workshop. We can have them go there, but let's work on the policies, work on the systems, so that in case they are to go, they have something that they will come back with, and of course their wellness is catered for. Otherwise, just say standing and then you propose that we can have these collaborations. We must also have something written on table that we are going to have our people given to you, and there is a clear collaboration with the government of this side and the government of those ends where we are sending our people, that we have a very well documented program, a cooperation agreement. Let me say that. A cooperation agreement that we are giving you, for example, our 100 nurses per year, but how much are you paying them? So they go on a clear salary scale. Not these things of hukuta. Our government likes hukuta too much. In Uganda, they call it okukuta. Okukukuta too much. So we should have these things very clearly pressed on paper, so that when they have gone, or before they even go, we already know that if Helen, you've sent your relative in Germany, you've sent your relative in this kind of country, you are expecting your person to be very well in terms of health, in terms of output. There is something they are working for, but not just going.
Yeah. Okay, so what we need is a system that manages, monitors, and looks after Ugandans working abroad.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the main purposes of government is to look after the people, because Ugandans were the biggest source of money for this budget that we have right now. Sure. Most of the budget is funded by taxes. So we need to have healthy people, we need to have alive people, we need to have people who are educated, people who can start businesses, gain from them, and take their children to school to ensure that Uganda's future is indeed secure, as it is supposed to be. Yeah. So now let's try to look on the positive side. Let's look for it, try to find it, and I want to say one of the positives that I've seen, not necessarily from the government leaders themselves, the female government leaders, CSOs and the women's movement they continue to strengthen capacity of women political leaders through trainings. I understand Forward is always conducting leadership programs and trainings for women MPs on having gender-sensitive legislation. All this work, do you think that it has borne fruit? Do you see the fruits, at least in 2023? Because previously we had, women like Honorable Winnie Chiza, the former MP, the woman MP for Kasanda, Honorable Flavia Kalule, is trained and was former staff actually of Forward. Do you see hope with the efforts of CSOs to train women leaders? Do you think that something good could come out in 2024? with the efforts of CSOs?
Well, I think the CSOs have done a really great job in bridging the gap that the government had, in the longest time period. Because things to do with women, gender, I think this should be a full docket of the Ministry of Gender, and these trainings of women MPs, women leaders, and all that. That is one thing that the Ministry of Gender should really, hold on to. Why am I saying this? Because CSOs are there because of funding. With the civic space that is shrinking currently. But if this funding is not there anymore, does that mean that women leaders are going to be, they stop training them in the future for those that will come? Because we know our system, it is, you elected, do something annoying, they throw you off, someone else bribes with more, products, and then that person is elected in power. So these people who are going to come in power, when the forwarders, the women's movement, the UONEDs, the Actionaids are not here to train these women, then what? Will it be the end of women leadership? What I'm trying to speak to is the fact that they've done a tremendous job in training women, because I am looking, if these people are not here, then what? Would we be just having women seated who cannot speak up, who cannot legislate on issues of gender, issues of women? They've done a great job, and we have seen this, the ripple effect on women leaders, and how they, legislate, how they discuss issues. We've seen UWOPA and how, they have worked in regards to FGM, ending child marriages, things to do with UWEP, how they come out broadly. And it's because of these trainings they have been interfaced with. So yes, the civil society has done a tremendous job, but my question then stays: what if the funding is normal with this, shrinking civic? And this is really, really interesting. Like you said, priority. So we're looking at civil society, want them to sustain themselves without funding. Yet the budget in government has nothing budgeted for women, leaders training. But you want the people who are helping you train the women, in which it's your docket. You're trying to shrink the space where they get funding. You're trying to pick up nitty-gritties, freezing their accounts, looking at this and that, because they are filling women with funny propaganda. Which propaganda? These are people just, training women and making sure that they are focused on the issues that relate with women's agenda. A work that you should have been done. It's like someone helping you with your housework, and then you're trying to lock your door from her accessing your house to do housework. So yes, they've done a tremendous job. I applaud them. I appreciate the work they've done. But then what will happen for the government when these civil societies are normal? Are you ready to take on the mantle? Are you sure you will be able to? That's a question I can ask.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I'll pose a question to you regarding what do you think is best for the women to be able to rise above these systems, or what changes do you think need to be done in the system, either by women through advocating and lobbying to make sure that the system works for them and enables them to be able to lead strategically and advocate strategically for their women constituents?
Well, we appreciate the CBOs, the civil society for the well put programs and platforms to train women. We have organizations like Akina Mama. They are really doing so well in terms of training women, young women, and even the older women in terms of legislation and representation. But we still have challenges. Of course, we must deal with questions of like term limits in parliament, so that when we have a woman represent like for 10 years, she steps aside and we get a taste of how the other woman can be. But we also do not want to say that the mentorship space is enough. We still have limited space for mentorship, especially for women. There are women that come to parliament and they've not been to any mentorship space to tell them that when you go to parliament, this is how women act, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you're going to do. The orientations and all that. We still have that space. Of course, we appreciate the fact that these organizations that are there are doing some work, but there is that space. So we have to look around on how best we can cover it, because we do not have government platforms that, for example, are there. I don't know any, maybe they're there. Most of those things can be there and are known by NRM only. I don't know any open space where, for example, we have young women who go there and are mentored, all those that are about to get to parliament, all those that have dreams of going to parliament for representation. Until, for example, you're in these political parties and you're taken for a workshop on and being trained and being mentored from there. We have independent women out there who it's very hard to get to know them and take them to these places. So we still have a problem with mentorship. That those and we also have the problem that those that are mentored seem to be too qualified again to go and represent. That when they go out there and they speak, they're like, this one is too confident, she cannot represent, you know. So we have such issues. So we must deal with them so that we have that, so that when they go, we have quality, we have good representation, there is confidence, that even when they go to parliament or in this space or even in any commission, we have commissions which are important. We have commissions, we have non-government organizations which are very important, and we need women there. It's not, we don't only need women in politics, we need women everywhere, anywhere where there is work to be done, so that we can have our voices being raised there. So we must deal with questions of mentorship. We must deal with questions of training these women, so that in case in any position you're placed, you're able to deliver enough.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you very much. I wanted to find out, what do you think can be done to support women to be able to, realize our hopes in them? What push can be given either from the citizens or from Parliament itself, or even them themselves? Do they need to go for further training? Do they need to go and be more educated? Do they need to be brought to the table and sit down with, for example, judges, sit down with lawyers, sit down with the Law Reform Commission, sit down with the people or the policy advocates in this country? What do you think will be the boost for them to, give us this legislation that we want to see, to, have something that we see works for women, so that the next election cycle we don't say, oh, the women disappointed us, and what we wanted in 2021 is we are asking for the same things, and we're not getting them. What do you think, in your one example, what do you think council would work?
Well, I'm looking at a woman deep down in the village who, is looking to take ownership, leadership on being an LC woman or what. And whether she's educated or not, she has the opportunity to also influence in the spaces that she occupies. There's so many things that happen that eliminate women from progressing into, higher places. And like we said, if you come to primary school, issues of menstrual health and, lack of sanitary towels, we keep seeing the number of dropouts increasing. And also the fact that our education system, to me, needs a lot of overhauling. Because even an educated woman, if you're not in the spaces of women where you influence and know the rights and obligations, you'll find a very educated woman with masters defending patriarchal systems. Why? Because they do not understand what them should hold as their rights and hold people accountable for their rights. They don't understand that. Because they've been brainwashed to think when you demand for your rights, you're an evil woman, no man would want to marry you, because of that patriarchal mindset. People have been conditioned and socialized to believe that as a woman, there's this saying that they say, like, even if you're educated, a very annoying saying to me, because I am not a messy, I am the kappa, I devour. So the thing is, how are we overhauling our education system to the fact that even if someone drops out in P5 and P6, she can hold her constituent representatives accountable? I'm talking about civic education. We had civic education way back, where people, that's how we saw the Miriam Matembes raise up, and demand for things and issues to do with women. Why? Because they were educated on what the rights of a woman is. Because they were in spaces, in the little, schools they were studying back in the villages. They were being taught about, as a woman, you have a right to this, you have a right to this. Do we have that now? Oh, people are singing Coco Melon and A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You tell the child, point to me what letter R is, the child points letter U. Because this child doesn't know. You even find with UPE school, someone in P5 cannot read a sentence. So how do we influence from the roots, where we are teaching civic education? As simple as, we're talking about patriotism. It starts from civic education. Someone cannot be patriotic when they do not know what the Constitution says, how they're supposed to defend the Constitution, how they're supposed to defend the flag, how they're supposed to defend their rights. If someone does not know that, what patriotism are you teaching this person? First of all, the Constitution is not in all the languages that we have. I don't think the Constitution is translated in those languages. So you talk about the Constitution, and a woman deep down in Nakapiripita has never seen a Constitution in Karamajong language.
What does Constitution
What is even a
mean?
Constitution? You get? For her, she will live in the beliefs that she's been socialized with. So how do we influence the mindset of women from the grassroots? Civic education. Let's mentor the girls. I'm uploading the civil society organizations that are doing this. People are in the fields having seminars, having workshops, and training women who are not educated. In that simple language, they understand what being a woman is, what leadership is, how to influence change in your community. Is the government doing the same? No. Members of parliament never go back when they're elected until when they're looking for votes. So we need to be vigorous in including women in the different spaces, like she said, influence them, make them understand the power they hold as women. Because they say an educated woman is equivalent of educating the whole nation. So we need to, move back to the grassroots and do something about it.
Okay, thank you. And what is your one solution that you can give to us?
Electoral reforms. Electoral reforms.
Do you believe the electoral reforms will give us the passion that we are looking for?
It may not give passion, but it will produce quality. We cannot dare still make mistakes of not having passion, not having quality in the same place. You're making completely zero. Okay. So at least we can have some electoral reforms, have term limits so that we have MPs keep rolling. You know that 2 terms you're out, someone will come. There is a constituency that is making a mistake of sending someone who is not representing them for more than 10 years. That is total loss, 10 years. But if there are electoral reforms, for example, we can deal with it. Issues to do with monetization of politics. Can't we cut this nomination fee so that we have people of 500 also nominate and get into the race, than leaving it with only a person who can afford 3 million to nominate? That then we can have a Hellen also and nominate. That then we can have a Lynn, we can have a Tracy, who we can gather the 500 and give 2 to nominate. There we can have many women mushroom. And then we have some serious representation, than leaving it to only women who have the money and who are in the system. Because there they can easily maneuver through. Issues of term limits, issues of monetization, issues of mentorship. We should have as many mentorship spaces as many, so that we have women who have been mentored, who have been trained on issues of legislation, issues of women representation, and what women want, so that and then we can cheer up that we've achieved something, at least as women.
Okay, thank you. Now, as we conclude, I want to thank you for your brilliant presentations, but I would want to ask, in a few seconds, what are you hoping for in 2024? Because 2023 hasn't seemed to be beautiful for women. Within a few seconds, you could tell me what you are hoping for to see our women leaders achieve or push for in 2024.
I'm hoping to see women that are not going to be in the shadows of men anymore, who are in the leadership positions. I'm hoping to see women who have, lack of a better word, who have the energy, the zeal, and the commitment to ensure that issues that deal with women are dealt with. I don't want to look and hear things to do with corruption and stealing of iron sheets and tractors and things like that. I want to see legislations on women being passed. I want us to gobsmack all the male MPs in parliament with the laws that we're passing, with the passion that we have in regards to laws that are defending women. That is my hope for 2024. And I hope, because I know they have it in them, they just need to re-evaluate their values and what their missions are in regards to women.
Okay, thank you. In 10 seconds, what are you hoping for?
2024, can we not see the Prime Minister dance to Okwe picture on stages in Gomeses? Can we see women not rob people's things and taxpayers' money in broad daylight? Can't we see them present anything like a policy or legislation in regard to what women are struggling with? Young girls getting pregnant, issues of school dropout. All those are issues that women should really look into. Can't we have women become serious in 2024? We are getting towards 2026. They should increase their power in terms of legislation, in terms of representation, so that even in the next cabinet, we have women being appointed as serious cabinet ministers, given serious cabinet ministerial positions, and also women applauded for putting something tangible on table. Yes.
Thank you very much. So there you have it. We have assessed the performance of women leaders in Uganda 2023. The scorecard is not giving good marks. So I call upon our women leaders, local councils, parliament, cabinet, please remember the women constituents that you represent. We hope for strategic leadership from you, something that works for women, and we have our hopes in you. Thank you very much for joining the Women's Show on Civic Space TV.